What's up, everybody? Good morning. It is the first day of a new month. So let's take a little bit of time here to talk about the month that was April and the month that we hope May will be. So every month at the on the first day, I like to take some time to talk about Seahawks Brendan Nelson across the internet, just kind of talk about whatever happened and how things went and what I'm looking forward to over the next month. So let's go ahead with the state of the channel for April and then getting into May. So let's start with YouTube. Let's start with the YouTube side of things, of course. That's where most of the action happens. And April was the kind of month that you would always expect it to be. You're building up over the course of several weeks. You're making videos about draft prospects. You're dissecting potential guys the Seahawks could draft. You're talking about why it might work, why it might not work, who you want, who you don't want, who you're not so sure about. And then at the end of the month, the actual draft happens. So what I can say is that the draft is always going to be awesome. If you're a football creator of any kind, a football fan, the draft is going to be of some level of interest to you. Maybe not a huge amount. And obviously it's going to go up and down depending on the year, but the draft is always going to be compelling for Seahawks fans, even in the years where you don't have as much picks, where you don't have as much that you're intrigued in. You're always going to be somewhat interested. So, of course, when I'm streaming all 3 days of the draft and I'm covering every single pick, obviously mostly through a Seahawks lens, but I'm covering every pick. I'm covering pretty much everything that happens throughout the 3 days of the draft. There's going to be a lot of interest, and sure enough, there was. There was the streams we did were great. We did the 4 hour stream and 4 hour stream of the first 2 days. It was about 4 hours each. And then the final day is, I think we went a little over 8 hours, I want to say. And it was awesome. I had a ton of fun. People showed up for it. People were interested in what was happening. People were participating. People couldn't wait to see what we would do. We peaked at like, I think I saw numbers up close to like 1,700 people at one point when we were making picks. And consistently we were getting over 1,000 when we were close to Seahawks picks. So that stuff went great. That stuff went very similar to how it went last year. Obviously, the difference being last year we had way more picks. So it peaked more often, and there was definitely a higher level of interest. And I will admit, let me say this, while the streams were great, there was definitely a measured lack of interest in the pre-draft stuff this year. And I think that is simply because the Seahawks didn't have that much draft capital. They had a slightly below average amount of draft capital. They had one pick in the top 80, and it was a mid first round pick. They had no second round pick. They had some third round, they had one third round pick, and then everything else was concentrated in day three, when it's been said many times by people, excuse me, myself included, that day three of this draft wasn't that great. So you contrast that with something like last year, it makes sense that the sizzle just wouldn't be there. We had 4 picks in the top 55, had a first round pick in the top 5, another one in the middle, and then we had good picks in the second round. So everything was on the table. So I went back and looked. Last year, the draft prospect videos that I made were they blew up for the most part. A lot of people wanted to see what I had to say. A lot of people wanted to talk about those players. Pretty much every single video I made last year about pre-draft prospects was popping. And this year definitely didn't happen to that level. And I think it's mostly just because we had less picks, which means we also know we're not going to draft certain guys. Like great example, Caleb Williams. We're not going to draft Caleb Williams, and everybody knows it. I still want to talk about him because he's an important part of the 2024 NFL draft, and I want to be comprehensive. But most Seahawks fans were not that interested in talking about Caleb Williams because we're not going to get him, and I totally get that. We're not going to get Drake May. We're not going to get Jaden Daniels. We're not going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors or Joe Alt. So while I feel the need to discuss them on some level because it's an incomplete picture without them, I can see why some Seahawks fans wouldn't be that interested in discussing that. So you compare last year's pre-draft videos to this year's, it's no comparison. So April was a little bit on the slower side compared to last year, but last year was also, I think, a once in a decade occurrence where you have massive amounts of capital and you have a pretty good team you're building on top of. Like last year, maybe not even once a decade. That might be once in a generation. You've got 4 picks in the top 55. The only player you know for a fact you're not going to be able to get is like Bryce Young, because by that point we kind of knew that Carolina was going to draft Bryce Young, but everything else is on the table. Your team that you're rooting for is actually pretty decent. They made the playoffs. So there was so much going that year that everything was just exciting and fun. Everyone wanted to talk about everything. And this year it was just more normal. We had a okay team coming off an okay season, okay amount of draft capital, and people wanted to kind of zero in on certain things that made sense for the Seahawks. So yeah, the early and middle parts of April were definitely a little bit of volume over actual like overwhelming viewership, I guess I should say. So the main thing that happened in early April that was really getting people to actually commit in terms of like, how should I put this? Getting pretty much everybody interested was the stuff that was actually news, like when we signed Laken Tomlinson. When we signed Laken Tomlinson, I mean, that's different, right? Like, I have this theory that there's a small subset, maybe it's not small, but it's not big. There's a subset of Seahawks fans out there that care about what could happen, but the big subset, which is basically everybody, they care about what does happen. So you see this. Any news video, even something insignificant like signing Tremaine Ankrum or signing Jonathan Hankins, is going to get people more interested than a video about a draft prospect that we have a 3% chance of drafting. So when there's not a lot of news and we just have speculation and evaluation of guys who are very unlikely to matter to us, really, it just doesn't drive the interest the way that the way that the news does. So I totally get it. It was still a really good month. We did really well. Had a well over, actually, I think we got close to 350,000 views, which is great. Again, last year was probably a unicorn. Last year was probably a once in a generation occurrence where everything was just in our favor. So that's most of what I can say about the YouTube side of things. Excited to do it again next year, but we've got a whole year of football stuff to get through first. We did manage to hit 17,400 subscribers, so that was a nice little milestone. I did hope we could get to 17,500, but I was also aware of the fact that the pre-draft stuff was not going to be as thrilling as it was last year. So I was aware of the fact that it was unlikely, and 17,400 is awesome. So thank you so much for that, everybody. Awesome stuff here. Twitch continued to go well. I continued through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which was continues to be a really fantastic game, I think. I had to lay off of it because of all the draft work I was doing, so we actually took an extended break from Twitch, but we are back streaming pretty much every day there now. We're doing Helldivers 2 now, which I know a lot of people wanted me to do when it first came out. I'm doing some Helldivers every now and then. I've also started playing Payday 2, just kind of on a whim, just looking for a single-player game I could play on the PC. So Twitch is going okay. I don't like abandoning the Twitch for extended periods of time, but I was so locked in on the draft stuff that I just didn't have time. So it is what it is. We're back to pretty much, like I said, pretty much every day. I'm planning on finishing up the rebuild watch-alongs, rebuild of Evangelion watch-alongs. We're going to do Thrice Upon a Time in the coming days here. And then we're probably going to try to find a new anime. Might do Steins Gate, might do ReZero, a couple of other, excuse me, options out there. But we are going to do more anime watch-alongs. X, I'm actually using a lot more lately. I'm having some more fun with it. I'm trying to experiment on X. I'm posting my videos over there, but I'm also trying to actually make other types of posts over there. So if you're not already following me on X, head on over there and do so. Starting to actually try to use it to post stuff that you won't necessarily see on the YouTube side. So that's going good. Facebook and Instagram have been mostly dead because I haven't had time to make shorts. I'm probably going to get back to that this month because there's going to be a lot of time. But I still can't post videos on Facebook or Instagram unless they're shorts, so kind of abandoned that for now. It is what it is. And that's about what happened in the month of April. So thank you everybody for making it a successful month. Thank you everybody for helping me grow. And now we head into May, where for the first 2 weeks, I'm probably going to just talk about these draft picks. I'm going to do some deep dives into our draft picks and some of the UDFAs as well. I'm going to probably spend maybe a full day on each guy just to really try to understand what we've got. And then we're going to eventually get through everything. It might take a couple weeks, maybe not even that. And then it's kind of slow down time, right? I'll have a couple more shows to do with the Hawk's Nest. What was great working with him over the last month, by the way. Very, very helpful, very, very good co-pilot on these things. When we stream together, it works great, and it was great to have him along for the process. And I know that we both help each other when we work together like this. But we're going to do a couple more shows, and then what? We got nothing. We've got baseball. I'm going to make a baseball video every couple weeks. I'm going to make a baseball video later today, but that's only going to take up a little bit. There's going to be occasional news. There's going to be occasional rumor of substance. But once we get to about the midpoint of May, there's not going to be that much going on. So I'll make some videos. I'll find things to talk about, but it's going to be slower. And it won't really pick up until maybe July, really. There'll be a little bit of stuff in May and June, but really July, you start getting into full training camp, full practices, and then August preseason, and then September the season starts. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a slog to get through the dog days of the off season, but we've done it before. We'll do it again. And we'll continue to talk about anything that needs to be talked about on the way. There's always some stuff that happens. And that's about it for the YouTube side. Over on the Twitch side of things, I'm going to continue to play through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, try to beat it later this month. I think I'll be able to. I've been, again, kind of slow rolling it because of the draft stuff taking up all my time. But we should be able to get through that. We're going to keep doing Helldivers. I'm going to get through Payday. And probably at some point later this month, we're going to see some new games brought in. I might finally do Returnal. I might finally do the Demon Souls remake on PS5. Might do some Switch stuff like Xenoblade. I've been sitting on that one for a while. There isn't a lot that's coming out in the near future that I'm personally super interested in. This is a very slow year for video game releases from here on out. There isn't a lot that compels me to play it immediately, except maybe the Elden Ring DLC. And I can't remember what month that comes out in, but when that comes out, I probably will jump right on it. Other than that, going to be business as usual. And that's what we got. May is the last gasp of the off season, and we had an active one, right? Looking for a new head coach and going through a non-trivial amount of roster turnover. There's a lot to digest. So certainly can't complain about the offseason we had. There was a lot to pull apart, but it's about to be pretty much wrapped up. All right. Thanks for watching. See you guys later. Just wanted to talk about where things are going and where things are. See you guys later today. Another video is going to be coming. Like I said, the next thing to look out for would be the prospect deep dives. Follow me on Twitch, by the way, because I'm going to be there pretty much every day during the off season. I might be on Twitch more than I'm on YouTube, because there's going to be a lot less to talk about. So if you want to see me and you want to talk about stuff, we mostly talk about football over there anyway, follow me on Twitch. Link in the description. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.